Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Life on the Hill. Today I want to do something I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is ever since we've had this property and this house, we've been concentrated on the house, but now we have finally renovated the house to where we're comfortable with it. And so now we're turning our attention to the property. And here in East Tennessee, we have a lot of what we refer to as sage grass, and typically that indicates poor soil. So one thing I like to do is hunt, and I've always been interested in food plots and just any sort of habitat improvement. And so I'm wanting to start actually growing food plots so that I can hunt over them. And I'm just trying to get a good feel for where we're at. Like I said, I've got a pretty good feeling that the bulk of these samples are going to be a little on the acidic side. Like I said, I've already tested the garden that we use. Of course, we've had a garden for the 2 years we've been up here, and I've thrown some triple 19 at it and some lime, so it's been somewhat treated. And so I think it's a lot closer to 7 than what the rest of the property will show. So what I've got are a couple bags that I'm going to separate these samples out with. I've got 4 specific areas on the property that I'm mostly interested in. I understand that you should get a broader range, but for what I'm trying to do is to basically confirm what I suspect, and that's that most of the soil is slightly acidic. So one thing to know as I'm getting a little closer to the first sample area is that this area and this entire property was neglected for, it's been neglected for decades. I guess when the property was purchased, a lot of this field, what is now a fielded area, they had it cut and I guess harvested a lot of the timber on it, and it's left all kinds of, I guess where they just rolled the stumps out, huge depressions. And so this entire thing was just full of sage grass and these little oak saplings. And so unfortunately I didn't realize it the first time. I bush hogged it thinking that I've got a great looking field. Well, about halfway through that summer, they were actually live stumps, and so I guess the roots still had a lot of energy in them, and so the stumps came back. So here's another look at what I'm talking about, just oak saplings. All these brown leaves are oak trees. You see more of them up there. Okay, and obviously right here is what I'm talking about with the sage grass. So I'm getting close to this little bottom area of what I refer to as the second field, and it'll show up in the drone video. But down here, because of the way that the land lays and the fact that a lot of the water and stuff runs down through here, down here is where I suspect that I'll have probably my best test result. If I have anything that doesn't show acidic or shows close enough to an even pH, I think it'll be down here. So here's another good example of what I was talking about, those live stumps. Bush hogged them originally, and so that's what that's from, is that original break. But as you can see, there was new growth, and when I bush hogged it this last fall, this is what came up. So hopefully, I don't know, this one's still pretty, I'm hoping that these are actually dead this year. And if you have anything that deals well with those as far as actually killing them, I'm not afraid of herbicides or anything like that. Obviously I like to use as little as possible, but I understand that there's also a time and a place for them. So if you guys have any examples or tips or tricks for what's worked for you in the past, make sure to mention those down below, and I'll give them a go, because like I said, it's just a real nuisance. If you're walking and you don't realize it, some of them are still pretty sturdy, so you could trip. Obviously, if one hits it just right, you could puncture a tractor tire. Just a real nuisance, and it's not conducive for what I have planned or my desires for this property. Where you see a little bit of bare dirt, here, and a little bit of green, versus take a couple steps over and you can immediately see the sage grass, and that's the original. The only thing that's been done there is bush hog. Now here, where this, you can kind of see this line right here,
This is where I last year sprayed it with Roundup and planted a summer blend from Eagle Seed. It did well, but I didn't have enough of it, and the deer just browsed it to where there was nothing, and there was a lot of exposed soil, and it fizzled out, and it didn't last all hunting season. And already you can see here, this is the third hole that I'm digging, and you can see I'm already getting into the clay. You can see the difference in the color there. You know, we got a decent little layer of, it's still kind of sandy, but you can still see it, and then obviously, you know, a couple inches in and you can already start to see that orange clay coming through. And again, that kind of tells me that it's probably going to show some sort of acidic level. So here's kind of the field number 2. It's kind of, I'm at the very top of it, right at this last fence row, and this is field number 2. And you can tell how it just ebbs and flows. There's one big crown in the middle, so it falls off into that row of trees, and then it falls off into this middle row of trees, and you can see over through there's field number 1. So field number 1 and 2 are only separated by this row of trees here. So this field here is going to have a tough time with sunlight, I think, because these trees over here are going to cover it in the evening because the sun sets over there, and then over here this middle row is going to cover a lot of it till, you know, it gets above these trees in the morning. Okay guys, here's my samples. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the little test kit I've got. And the garden that I tested earlier, like I said, was somewhere between 7 and slightly acidic. But anyway, like I said, you filter the soil here, you break open the green capsule for the solution, and then you fill the rest with water. Then you shake it, and you'll let it separate, and then you'll compare the color. Okay, so there's the sample for number 1, and to me that is either 6 or possibly even worse, but like I said, that's kind of what I expected. Alright, so here's sample number 2, and it's slightly better results. To me, that's more so in the 6.5 range. This is sample number 3, and that one is also, to me, kind of right there in the 6.5 range. And there's the results for sample number 4. That one is, to me, much more yellow than say sample 2 and 3 were. So I would definitely say that one is probably 6, or I don't know, probably right at 6 actually. That's a pretty close color there. So that last field that the last sample came out of, kind of expected that one to be bad. Like I said, that field looks like it has been either pastured in the past or possibly frequently cut for hay, and obviously you don't get any sort of, you know, like a hay every year it's harvested, so any of the nutrients that hay, that grass took, doesn't ever get put back into the ground there, because it is typically cut, so it's taken off and then taken to some other field for feed. So the nutrients are taken out of the ground, but they're never put back, and you're not getting a lot of you know, biomass or anything decomposing to help regenerate or revitalize the ground. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. That's it for this one. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing. There's going to be several more videos, just some of the stuff that we're doing, the improvements to the property. Now that I know the pH, I could treat the fields the way that I need to and really get started on the food plots. But like I said, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for stopping by, and take care.